everybody? My name is Johnny Felder on Back Talk TV. I'm with my co-host,
Sullivan Hooper.
and we're going to talk about pretty much just college football and NFL so far. Now, looking at the games this weekend, Army and Navy just been really just killing this so far, especially Vanderbilt. Don't get me wrong. They've been having a good season so far. Both Army and Navy are undefeated right now. How do you feel about them both as a whole this season going into the playoffs?
I mean, I guess it's just something about that triple option, man. I don't know who all they've played. I imagine they haven't played anyone too good. I know, was it Army or Navy? They beat East Carolina last week.
That was Army, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense is just, it's hard to stop. But I think it's great for college football, having Army and Navy, Vanderbilt in the top 25. I think that's what college football needed. I think for a while we've had too much of, the blue bloods taking over
Right.
and controlling and having so much power that it's nice to see the little guys have a little say so.
I remember back in my day, like in high school ball, where we used to play this one team named Cane Bay, the Cane Bay Cobras. They used to run the read option all the time, and I know how that feels. It's pretty irritating, but hey, it's the world we live in,
Yeah.
especially for college football. And if you can't stop it, then what's the point?
I think what it is that it's just play after play. It just wears the defense down. Like they know what's coming. It's going to be a run play like 95% of the time. They don't know like who's going to get the ball necessarily, but they know they're going to get hit. They're going to get hit hard, and then it's going to be like that the entire game. And I think it wears the defense down.
Oh yeah, then especially like just being able to catch the defense off guard with any play action pass
Hmm.
that comes their way. Now East Carolina has struggled against that, especially their defense in their secondary in the Army game. They couldn't stop the run or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, now with the 12-team playoff, I think it would be so funny, but also just so cool to have a team like Georgia have to go play Navy in that first round matchup. I mean, Georgia might be a little much, but it's a game I'd love to watch.
Nah, for real. Like I feel like that could happen, but also another thing that I also can piggyback off of is pretty much Army just being the dark horse in the playoffs and just pretty much going all the way with it. I feel like you never know. Like college football is like a March Madness, but except we got a 12-team playoff this year, and it could be a miracle for many programs to get into,
Yeah.
especially in the top 25.
Yeah. Another thing about these teams, these smaller teams who are having success, the craziest thing about it is that they're doing it without the NIL. They're doing it without the transfer portal. They're going up against teams like Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas, all these big schools that have all the money in the world.
Right.
And they're getting transfers every year. They can rebuild their roster every year. These are guys, Navy and Army, who are going into the military in a couple of years. I just
Yeah.
think that's pretty impressive what they've been able to do.
Now, how do you feel about so far Dabo Sweeney, not utilizing the transfer portal and pretty much not getting any players from there?
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty silly for it at first, but it's seeming like it actually might work out for him. They lost that Georgia game week one pretty badly, but they've won every game since. They've looked pretty good, and they've got a pretty good chance of winning the ACC and making the playoffs. So it could look like it's going to work out for him, but long term, I don't think it's very sustainable to not use the transfer portal.
Right. Now, I've also been watching some of Clemson ball this year, and Cade Klubnik has been balling so far this year, just producing numbers for the Tigers in order to pretty much keep them in the top five right now. And I believe they're currently ranked in number nine, I believe.
Yeah, they're top 10 for sure. Cade Klubnik's kind of someone who, once again, after they lost week one, I kind of wrote them off. I kind of wrote Cade Klubnik off, especially after last year as well. But it seems like each week is getting better and better, and they're starting to talk about him a little bit more in the Heisman conversation.
Oh yeah, and then speaking about that, so pretty much Travis Hunter made some slick shots at Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty, who is a hell of a player pretty much for
Hmm.
Boise State, has been producing this year. How do you feel about Travis winning the Heisman?
I have a couple buddies of mine who think Travis Hunter should win the Heisman because he's playing on both sides of the ball. But I'm kind of an Ashton Genty guy. I mean, he's putting up numbers we haven't seen in a very long time. Who is it that they talked about? It's been like 30-something years we haven't seen numbers like this. I don't know which player they're referring to.
I
Maybe
forget the
Barry
name.
Sanders or something.
I think that, but most likely though, he's just pretty much just been doing it for Boise State, and I honestly think that they should be ranked also,
Yeah,
just because of him, and then the great team played so far
yeah,
within the mountain in the out west.
yeah. I mean, Boise State's a team I'd also like to see in the playoffs. I think that'd be good for the viewers and good for the fans.
Yeah. So another thing that I also would like to talk about is, truth be told, this is the hard truth, but Vandy pretty much scarred Bama. And I'll say that the reason why is because how can Alabama lose to two Tennessee teams like back to back? And on top of that, it's SEC play, it's conference play. So like, why would y'all drop games to them?
Yeah. I mean, Bama's a team that you think after a loss, I mean, they would never lose to Vandy under Saban. They never did. But we kind of gave them the pass because they beat Georgia. They got a new head coach. They escaped to win at home versus South Carolina. So we're like, okay, they're going to bounce back. They beat South Carolina. They're going to play Tennessee. They're going to get a get right game, and they'll be fine. They'll be the same Bama, but that's not the case. They've lost to both teams from Tennessee, Vandy and Tennessee, and they're in real danger of missing the playoffs. If they run the table, I still don't know if they can make that 12-team playoff.
Pretty much, like, I agree with you on that. Nico Lima Wave literally came back into the game after he got injured in the first half, and he just been throwing dipping dots,
Yeah.
as you could say, and he pretty much led Tennessee to win against Bama.
Hmm.
Now, I feel like their stock is going to go down pretty low just because they lost to a number 15 team like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking about the transfer portal again, Nico, I forget his last name, but Nico Vandy's quarterback, he's someone they grabbed from the transfer portal. So that's a great example of how a team like Vanderbilt can benefit from the
You
transfer
talking
portal.
about Diego Pavia?
Yeah, sorry, you're talking about Tennessee quarterback. I'm talking about
Oh yeah.
Diego. Yeah, he's the one that Vandy got from the transfer portal, and it's been a huge factor for them this year.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I agree on that just
Yeah.
because they switched up so many things about the program ever since the coach, the old last coach that pretty much been good for them, James Franklin, had
Yeah.
left to go up to Penn State, and he's
Mhm.
doing great things up there so far. But the way that they've been able to, just change the program around, just really just been a process for everything.
Yeah. It's been crazy, man. And I have to bring up this team, baby, South Carolina Gamecocks. Let's talk about them this year. They're 4-3. They've had a couple close calls, but they seem to have righted the ship last week against Oklahoma.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
optimistic about them for the rest of the year.
Now, my feelings about the Gamecocks. So, pretty much what I feel like from them is that they play great defense. Their defense is top in the country, and I dare anybody to disagree with me on that because we can literally battle for that. Their defense is top notch, and I feel like they can compete with anybody. But here's the thing about it: they don't know how to close out games. The offense ain't clicking right away, and it's like you could just gotta pretty much give it time.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio the other day, and they're talking about the close games that they have lost, and it's kind of a scenario where right now we're still somewhat early in Coach Beamer's career, and it is South Carolina. Right now, it seems like it's okay to lose those games, but if this trend continues next year and the year after, South Carolina fans aren't going to be so happy with 4-3 and continuing to not close out those big games that feel like games that could change the program.
Right, I can agree with you on that. Most definitely. Like Beamer could be out, and like I feel like right now, like he's kind of on the hot seat.
Hmm.
Like many coaches right now, truth be told, are on the hot seat right now. For an example, Mike Norvell. He did all that
Oh yeah,
talking for Florida State last year. Not going to, don't get me wrong. Florida State should have been a team to go into playoffs last year, but
hmm
like I said, there's but so much you can do in the college football world, especially for with the committee.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world in college football, I mean, it's pretty feisty out there, man. They almost made the playoffs this year, but he's in real danger of losing his job, even though they had the historic season they did last year. I mean, if he doesn't get things right, he could be looking for another job here soon.
Right. Most definitely, though, I feel like I said, Texas could go all the way, but like I'm kind of iffy on that just because I seen struggles that game, and Georgia pretty much kind of exposed them a little bit. Now they had to go from Quinnen to Arch in the second half. Like, how do you feel about the quarterback change in that game?
I think they handled it kind of poorly. I think they should have gone with one or the other. They should have left. They should have left Quinn in the entire game and just let him handle it because they had a chance to kind of come back, which they did a little bit. And if they had kept Quinn in, maybe it would have made a difference. But when they brought Arch in, it seemed like they had a little bit of success, and they should have just left him in. I don't know. I don't. What do you think? I don't really agree with how they handled it.
I definitely agree with you on that. I feel like Arch should have been started the whole game. Just pretty much like Arch gives you that excitement in the crowd. To me, to be honest, he can run, he can pass, like pretty much he can really just do it all for the Longhorns. And don't get me wrong, Quentin Ewers is a great guy and he's a good player, but in that moment right there, I believe you would need Arch in order to produce and just get the team hype up and just produce those oohs and ah moments.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree, man. And that was a tough loss to Georgia, but Georgia's a team that could also very well win it all. But to close this up, let's look at some of these games this week, and I want to hear your input. Let's look at some of these top 25 games. First off, we got Boise State. They actually are ranked this week. They're 17th in the country, playing on the road at UNLV, and UNLV is 6-1.
Mm.
Does Boise State continue their run? Does Ashton Genty have another great game?
I feel like that game is about to be a hardy, and honestly, I'm gonna have to go with Boise State just because they've been on fire recently, and I don't think they're about to stop. Pretty much, I think UNLV's faced their second loss of the season.
Yeah, man, I'm riding the Boise State train all the way. I agree with you. Okay, another great game. Coming in at noon on ABC, Notre Dame at Navy. Notre Dame's 12th in the country. They're 6-1. They have a decent chance to make the playoffs if they run the table. Navy, we know the story. Can they get it done as a 13-point underdog?
Me personally, I'm gonna have to ride the Notre Dame train just because, like I said, Notre Dame has bounced back from Texas A&M, and
Yeah,
being able to bounce back like that is crazy work. But I feel like the Fighting Irish can get it done.
yeah. I'm loving this Navy Cinderella story, but I'm kind of big on Notre Dame. I like Marcus Freeman. I think they get it done on the road.
Right, right, right.
Let's do a couple more games here. We got Missouri on the road at Alabama. Missouri with the big comeback win against Auburn last week to kind of save their season. Alabama, we know the story. They need to get things going if they want to have any chance to make the playoffs.
Truth be told, like I feel like Missouri can pull it off. Like I feel like Kalen DeBoer doesn't have it in his bag as of right now, and Alabama has been kind of they really just been kind of been sus lately. So I might have to give it to Mizzou and
Hmm.
Luther Burden.
Missouri had a lot of hype going into this year. They had a good year last year, and they brought Burden and Weeson, I think, as a wide receiver
Yeah,
core. They have a chance. I'm gonna go with Bama at home. Uh, Last game here is probably one of the biggest games of the week. It's number 8 LSU on the road at number 14 Texas A&M. They're both sitting at 6-1, with again a chance to make the playoffs and maybe a chance to win the SEC. What do you like in this matchup,
I'm gonna have to go Aggies. Go
dude?
gig 'em.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you at all. What do you like about the Aggies this year, or is it something you dislike about LSU?
So pretty much what I like about Texas A&M so far this year, I really like their running attack and just their passing as a whole. Like their whole offense just clicks and just pretty much drives down the field. Their defense is also straight, but like I said, their offense just gets it done every week, either running or passing. They're going to get it done. But LSU, on the other hand, like I feel they got weapons, obviously,
Hmm.
but like I said, I'm gonna just have to go with the Aggies pretty much.
Okay, I think A&M's a team that's kind of flying under the radar this year. They're 6-1. Who was their lone loss to? They lost to somebody decent.
I think it wasn't Notre Dame their first game. No, it wasn't.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
It should
Because
have.
it was week 1 they lost.
Oh yeah, it was Notre Dame.
Yeah, it was a good game. Good game. They've flown on the radar a little bit. They're 6-1. I'm going to take LSU though. I think they have too many weapons, and yeah, I think LSU wins it, and they might even win the SEC this year.
Well, we most definitely are going to find out who's so far the winner of the SEC, but we'll be back. And pretty much this is all the podcast on Back Talk TV. I'm your host, Johnny Felder IV, and
I'm Sullivan Hooper.
thank you.
Thank you for watching.